Senator, earlier you talked about you not being a lone voice in some of the views that you hold in the party. What does that base look like? What are the others saying, and what's the general feeling? And how strong is that
I'll
base?
tell you a story. At the advent of these conversations about our association with UDA, I visited a very respected member of a party, an old man from Kano. I'll not disclose his name. And Yvonne, I walked into this gentleman's house, and he has a certificate of honor from ODM. I had never seen it in all the time that I have been SG. I saw it for the first time in this gentleman's house. And we sat down, and he told me that we have a responsibility, those of us who have been given leadership of the party, to speak out. Because in the previous election, if you speak to many members of ODM, they will tell you after the election was called for William Ruto, many people went into depression. Prior to that election, people did not want to speak when they were seeing things going wrong. And you'll be told, when you ask and say, hey, by the way, who's taking care of this? And say, oh, so-and-so is taking care of that. So and then you say, what is our plan? If this happens, you don't need to worry about this. And the silence of the good people within the party is what cost us the election. Because the bad people are louder than us. The bad people are louder than us, and they want to pretend like they are the ones who are in charge of everything in the party.
Who are the bad people in the party?
No, you know them. You know them.
I don't. I'm not a member. Maybe
the members of ODM know exactly who I'm talking about.
Okay.
And these people, they don't scare me. I will say, because of the pain we went through. Yvonne, I was being called by Kenyans. You know, this party has support across the world. I was being called by Kenyans from Auckland. People have been slaving in countries in Eastern Europe. They just want an environment where if they brought their savings home and set up like a small kiosk, nobody will come and take it over. Or if you buy a piece of land, some guy in government, because he's powerful, will not come and grab it, and all your life savings are gone. They were calling me crying, asking me, Sifuna, as SG, how could you people fumble this? This was a layup. This was a straight-on election. How could you fumble it? The lesson I've learned from 2022 is that for as long as the good people, the people who mean well for this country, continue to be silent and to say, oh, maybe let us just leave, Yvonne knows what he's doing or what she's doing. I'm telling you, when it goes south, all of us, including people who never get the mic, including members who have supported ODM kwa hali na mali, but they will never be called to your show. We have a responsibility to speak for those people, you know?
And who are some of those people then?
I've given you the example of the gentleman from Nyando. I will not name him, but he knows himself. He's watching. He has a certificate of honor. That certificate is signed by Raila, not even by the Secretary General of the party. Very few people have that certificate. And he's the one telling me, please, don't be confused by this noise you are hearing from some of these leaders here at the top. Just listen to what the people, the supporters of the party are telling you, and please represent them. I have chairmen of counties. I will not mention them because people will start saying, oh. And they tell me, Sifuna, if it were not for the few of you at the national leadership who are saying we need to reconsider some of these associations because it is hurting us. Yvonne, we have by-elections coming up. We try and talk to candidates. For the first time, people are not scrambling for our ticket. For the first time, I've never experienced anything like this. They are telling me, I want to be in parliament. I love ODM, but if I go with the ticket, I will lose. Because of your association with UDA, not because ODM is a bad party.
It would seem there's a crisis in the party.
This is what I was talking about, the confusion. ODM has a followership, a registered membership of over 5 million people. And when you speak to a majority of those people, there is still belief and trust within the ranks of the party that Baba knows what is right for the people, that he will do the right thing, and that the vast majority of the members of the party believe in themselves and in their ability to pull this train back on its tracks. You will listen to what we in Parliament say, but ODM has a total complement of about 106 elected members of Parliament. Compare that to the 5 million in the grassroots there who have given support to this political party for years. Secondly, many of us, like I personally, speaking as Sifuna, I have known one political leader all my life. I tell the story of how I became interested in politics in 2002. I was at the university. We were the kids who were singing Yote Yawezekana Bila Moi. I have not listened to another political leader, including those ones who ran around from Ushago. I have listened to Raila Odinga all these years, and ODM as an institution, Yvonne, has existed for 20 years. It takes a lot of blood and sweat and pain to build an institution the size of ODM and to have that longevity for all that time. You cannot just give up and say you are going to quit on all that membership. But I want to say here that on the day that I give up, I will tell you, I will say it publicly that I have lost the battle to rescue this party and to bring it back to where it was. And we will have lost collectively as members of ODM, because I cannot do this thing on myself or on my own. So the day I give up, I will let the country know that I tried my best, but I lost that battle, and then we will take decisions from there.
Is ODM headed in the right direction with the current arrangement and the current status?
Let's just say that there's a lot of confusion. I have told my party leader that there was a time when it was very easy to be SG of ODM. You would wake me up in the middle of the night and ask me anything, because what we agreed is that you can compromise on tactics, but you can never compromise on your values. There is things that ODM stands for. If you woke me up in the middle of the night and asked me my position on devolution, my position on rights under Article 37, for instance, I would give you an answer straight away. But right now, there is a lot of confusion, because I come to these shows and to the media and in those public barazas, and I struggle to explain that we're the same political party. Then you will see a member of ODM who maybe used to hold a premier position, now is a cabinet secretary, say the exact same opposite. It leaves our support very, very confused. And I want to apologize to members of ODM today for all the confusion we as a leadership have caused, because it is very difficult now to discern the position of ODM on major issues. And that is the biggest sadness, because it should be easy. It should be easy. When a member of ODM proposes a bill saying, oh, we want to limit the rights under Article 37. What is ODM without Article 37? What is ODM without street protests? What is ODM? ODM is a movement that has been built on the strength of the people. So you cannot be the ones telling us today that, oh, you are sponsoring a bill to limit the rights under Article 37. We swore to this constitution. And that is where confusion comes in for people like me, because I now can no longer pronounce myself authoritatively on the position of a party when it comes to the rights under Article 37. You know? And that is where the difficulty begins.
So you say it's confused. You yourself cannot articulate the values and the position of the party.
Correct.
As Secretary General.
Because that position is difficult to discern when we don't have a unified position we are all speaking from as members of a party. It is essentially the Wild West now. Everybody is just doing what they want. Somebody will wake up, they are elected on ODM, they say, oh, they are forgotten. They are forgotten that Raila Odinga is still the leader of the party. They are forgotten that ODM still exists to fight for political power. You are already supporting a third party for re-election. Why do we exist as a political party if you are going to shout the slogans of other political parties?
So, Senator, if as Secretary General you feel this strongly about the party
yes.
That you lead in position of Secretary General, in other democracies, Senator, you would resign.
That's what I'm telling you. I have not given up. I
still think there is hope?
I also believe in my own power of persuasion, even within the party, to be able to pull the train back on its tracks. And I've told you, it will be very difficult for me to abandon all those 5 million people who believe that the leadership of the party will do what is right when the time comes. So until we cross that bridge, when we reach that bridge, I am a very forthright and open person. I will let the public know that I have done my best, but I've been unable to convince the party that the path that we have taken is not the right path.
Well, let's speak about that power of persuasion, because structurally, as a Secretary General
yes.
Of a party, that role is a platform of advice and perhaps direction.
Absolutely.
Right? Upwards, downwards.
Absolutely.
Sometimes both ways. Have you lost that power of persuasion in the party when we see the party leader saying something different from you? The party chair says something different. You yourself are expressing shock and dismay at a proposal of a bill by one of your own members. So what kind of advice have you ever provided to the party leader? Let's speak particularly with regards to, this current...
Decisions of ODM are made in a collegiate manner. Like, you will have a meeting, and in that meeting, of course, not everybody will see the things or everything from the same perspective. So I will give my perspective, and majority or more of the people that are present in that room will give a different perspective. That is not to mean that I've lost my power of persuasion, because there are fights that I have won in that political party.
Because it doesn't seem like you're winning any battles
lately,
in your party.
There are not too many.
Right.
Lately, there are not too many. Like, I am on record having advised a party against doing this MOU with UDA.
And they still went ahead.
We still went ahead and entered that MOU. But you see, the beauty is that you are proven right every day. I warned that the problem with doing a formal MOU with UDA is that it didn't matter what the MOU said. The people from UDA, the government, William Ruto, is not interested in the details of the MOU. And that is why he gets upset when I remind him what the MOU said. You know, they wanted a document that they could then go and, run a PR campaign around and say, oh, tumeungana, we are together. That is not what this document says. This document does not establish a coalition agreement between ODM and UDA. But that's the impression they've been creating. They go out there and say, and I had warned that the PR disaster that was going to come from this was going to be something that was going to be very difficult to manage. Unfortunately, the foremost PR officer for the party is the SG. And that is where I'm saying there's difficulty that has come from this. Recently, we had another meeting, and there was a proposal to have a team to review the implementation of this MOU. I have asked respectfully that I be left out of that team, because I have already declared this MOU dead. I have already done so publicly. So there is no point. I'm not a mortician. There's no point of me going to go through a document that I've already declared dead. And the reason I declared this MOU dead is because the initial argument for entering into this MOU was twofold. First of all, it was for the sustenance of life. For the sustenance of life, that we were losing people unnecessarily. That can we all agree that this is not something we need to continue doing? We need to stop killing our people. That was the first argument. The second argument was the sustenance of the democratic state. So Ruto is getting his end of the bargain, because the democratic state is being sustained at least until 2027. But our people are not getting there. They're still being killed. So on the day that Albert Ojwang dies in a police cell, to me, this agreement is dead, because it doesn't matter what else you do, Albert will not be able to enjoy that.
Okay.
You know?
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Have you told this to your party leader?
I have. I have spoken with Baba. I have explained to him my frustrations, the difficulties of having to explain what we are doing with this rogue regime, the confusion that has come upon my mind, because this is not what I was taught. You know, me, I don't know how I can explain. Because I've told you I've only known one leader. I've only known one political party. I know what this party stands for. So every time there is things that are at odds with what I have been taught, have been conditioned to believe, then the confusion becomes too much for me. So I have expressed that.
And what does he say in response?
So there is many private conversations, the details of which that I cannot share. But for you and your viewers, just know that there is nothing that I can say publicly that I have not said privately to my party leader. And I have a lot of respect for him. He's molded me into the person that I am. And even today, he continues to listen to objections. By the way, it's not just Sifuna who objects to some of these things. Feedback comes from across the country, because Baba has possibly the best grassroots network in this country. And they are telling him from Mandera, from Tana River, from the coast, from Northeastern, they're saying this relationship is hurting our political party.
All right. Let me ask you about that relationship for a moment. Holding a key office in ODM, which has been in this working arrangement with the Kenya Kwanza administration, have you ever been contacted by President William Ruto on any issue relating to this broad-based working arrangement?
No. I don't even have William Ruto's number, and he can't call me. Because if I don't have your number, you can't call me.
Let's speak a little bit more about him. At an event in Homa Bay, President Ruto, speaking in front of your party leader, expressed displeasure over your stance on the broad-based politics. And he said, as founding member of ODM, they would get together and sort of find a way to reprimand you. Tell us if anything has come of this threat. Was it effected? We know you're still in office, at least for now, but
yeah,
has
so
something been done?
Clearly that meeting has not happened.
Well, but has something been done to give you reason
I have a few things to say. First of all, nobody should threaten me with founder member status, because ODM, as I've told you, is a mass movement. If it was just the leaders, ODM would not exist. I have told you, we are the kids who were singing in the streets those days that gave this mass movement called ODM, because you need the people for you to be able to say that you are a mass movement. In 2005, we voted against the proposed document of the constitution that Kibaki had given us on the instruction of Baba, because we were his kids, So, first, there's no organ of ODM called founders. There's no organ, and he's not a member of the party. We have a disciplinary committee that is headed by Ramadan Abubakar, who happens to be a birthday boy today. So shout out to him. Those are the people who can discipline me as a member of the party, not William Ruto. And Yvonne, it has been the honor of my life to be SG of ODM. I was telling these young students that I met at Chungwa House on Saturday from the universities in Kenya that there is no political platform that is bigger than ODM, and no bigger political platform than SG of ODM. I have been SG of ODM. This is my 8th year. I'm the longest serving SG of ODM. There is a contribution that I've made to the party. I would not feel bad if they gave opportunity to somebody else, because Sifuna now is saying that the party has taken a wrong direction. I will not begrudge anyone. I would actually understand it, So him threatening me there in front of people, and the reason why he was saying all of those things, Yvonne, you can look at the speech that I made on that particular day. What is it that I said that was so offensive? I asked him to stop tear gassing young children, to allow a play by a high school to be performed. That is what warrants the removal of SG of ODM. It is ridiculous. So for me, really, I know the people who put me in this position. And the day they say, Sifuna, we have lost confidence in your ability to be SG of ODM, I will respect that decision. I would remain a loyal member of ODM and serve the people of Nairobi in the capacity of senator. I don't have an issue.
Before we take a break, I want to ask you this. Based on the decisions that have been made by your party leader and leading ODM into this arrangement, do you believe that the values of the party are still the same values that the party leader Raila Odinga holds, even within the present arrangement?
I think if you are in the church choir and suddenly you start spending time with, let's say, women of the night, your values will be compromised. It will start to show.
So are you saying...
It will start to show. That's why...
So let me understand this.
This is the confusion that I am saying.
And let me understand
this. This is the confusion that I am saying.
As Secretary General of the party, are you then saying your party leader, Raila Odinga, no longer professes, holds, or carries the values of ODM? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying we are living in very confusing times. Let me give you the best. Is he confused? Let me give you the best. Because I'm asking you specifically about Raila Odinga and whether you think no, I don't think he still holds the same principles and values. I think he does. As ODM. I think he does, but the association we have with UDA starts to blur the lines. I'll give you the best example. I, as a member of ODM, believe in devolution. And believing in devolution means that, for instance, national government has no business undertaking county projects. This is something, if you woke me up in the middle of the night, that's exactly what I would say. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. When because of this association, we have to join Ruto to launch markets built by the national government, that is the confusion that I'm talking about, that the lines become blurry. But it is out of this association. I personally believe that if this association were to be put to an end, ODM's values are still intact. If they're blurred, are they still intact? Yes. And being blurred by the person who is the party leader. It is blurred by the association. So you have to appear at these events. For instance, me, I've taken the position that... But these are very clear things that your own party leader is saying. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So who's blurring the lines? It is because of that proximity. That proximity is what is causing the blurring of the lines. And if there is material... That's what I'm saying. That proximity, Senator? All of us. All of us, because we signed a document as a party, all of us. So immediately there is material separation between our two political parties. You will see clarity So you're also blurring the lines as Secretary General.
I have taken opportunity here to even apologize to the members of ODM for the confusion we as a leadership, because I'm in the leadership. I can't run away from that. I am in the leadership. People have reminded me 1,000 times that they saw me at KICC. Yeah. Do you know they were not expecting me to come to KICC? I was wondering why. Why would you not expect me to come to KICC? I have a responsibility under the constitution of a party to make sure that things are done properly. And I'm actually very proud of this document, Yvonne. If you go through the document, these are the values of ODM. The person who is in breach of this MOU is not ODM, because the responsibility, for instance, not to kill Kenyans is not upon ODM. We do not own instruments of violence. So why should
ODM continue to stick in an arrangement?
This is the question that I, as Sifuna, have been asking, because I have said there has been material breach of this agreement, so that we should be released from our responsibilities.
Okay.
Let me give you another example, Yvonne. How do people get attracted to political parties? How was I convinced to join ODM? I did not just wake up and decide, oh, this is ODM. You look at the leadership, you listen to them, you talk about, listen to the values and the picture they want to paint for the country that we want to live in, and you are persuaded. Right now, if you want to persuade young people to join the party, it is very difficult, because this association with a party that is killing them is always coming up. What do you tell those young people? What do you tell them so that they can be able to join the party? And I was very happy when the party leader proposed this thing he called an intergenerational dialogue. The good thing with Jacom is that he's open. His ideas don't have to be taken for the law. That's what people don't know. Even this proposal that he has made of an intergenerational dialogue, or a conclave as he calls it, it's a good thing. People just don't know it.
Okay.
The question, let me just finish that point.
Okay.
The question I want to ask is are people ready for an intergenerational discussion? An intergenerational discussion is one where you get all those generations to sit here. So there is a guy who I have a lot of respect for. He's an elder in my community. He stands up, he's I think in his 80s. Then he proposes that Nairobi National Park should be raised down and we put apartments there. At his age, is he allowed to make that decision? I have an 8-year-old daughter. We should ask her, Mama, do you still want to see lions or the animals at Nairobi Park? She should be the one to tell us, Daddy, we are tired with these elephants. Take them to Kajiado. But you cannot have lived all your life enjoying these benefits, enjoying the park. You've taken your children there, your grandchildren, your wives have gone there and enjoyed that park. Then at the tail end of your life, you come and suggest that we no longer need the Nairobi National Park. Are these people prepared to listen to intergenerational discourse? We have young people in the universities. Some of these people you see here, they went to university for free. Public education was free, and they were being paid. They used to call it Zijui Boom. I'm telling you, are we offering the current generation of the students in the university the same opportunities that we got ourselves? I was telling these young ladies from the universities, when I went to the University of Nairobi, I used to pay 6,000 shillings for accommodation. Now it's 43,000. We are denying these kids the same opportunities that we got.
Okay. I will come back and we will talk about that intergenerational national conclave in a moment, as perhaps we talk about what the solutions, ahead look like. But just to stay with what's happening within the party, there seems to be a group of younger MPs and younger members of the party. Perhaps yourself, we see Caleb Amisi, Babu Owino. What's going on? Is there a similar sort of schism that you speak of on the national front within ODM? Is there a parting of ways in terms of principles between older members of ODM and younger members?
I don't think the schism in the party is along age groups. It is just amongst people who believe that we should remain who we are, and people who feel, like I said, Baba taught us, you can compromise tactics, but not values. When values start being compromised, that is the schism. There's people who don't have a qualm compromising values. You'll see a member of ODM. We used to be the ones, Yvonne, who used to be tear gassed in these streets. I have been at the forefront of those things. People used to die for no reason during protests. I was reminding some of them that we would leave the office, we would leave Chungwa House during, even just as late as 2023. And we would be driving down the road, and without touching anybody's property or carrying any weapon, the police would descend on you. The police would descend on you. Can you imagine members of ODM suggesting that we should talk to the police to allow goons to protect the state? Can you imagine?
And yet we've not
That's
seen,
what I'm saying.
And yet, as Secretary
Yes.
General, and perhaps, you know, a spokesperson for the party, you know, besides the party leader, we've not seen ODM speaking very openly in terms of even statements against the killings, against the abductions.
But that is not factual. Yvonne, that is not factual, because the spokesperson of the party, as you have rightly said, party leader and myself, we have spoken repeatedly, including recently when the president issued this so-called shoot in the foot order. The party leader, Raila Odinga, issued a statement on this matter. Personally, I got to a place where I asked myself, how many times can you condemn police brutality? How many times can you send thoughts and prayers to the families? We were seeing in your news here, a family in, I think it was Kirinyaga. They were burying the fourth person who's been shot from Kirinyaga. How many times can you condemn something without saying, this needs to stop? You know? And so I get to a place where I decide that even for me now, I need to vacate that space, because, you know, sometimes they say Sifuna talks too much. Can we allow these people who support this association with UDA to explain what Ruto is doing?
One of the people that is supporting that arrangement with UDA is your party leader.
That's what I'm saying. He has spoken. You have to distinguish, because you know, for you,
he then saying,
for you,
like what you're saying,
you want to get me in trouble with my party leader,
no,
but I'm not going to allow you.
No.
Raila Odinga issued a statement as recently as when Ruto spoke on this thing of shoot to kill. When he was in Homa Bay with the president, he said the same thing. Stop abducting young people. He has never stopped talking about those things. But there are other leaders in the party. This confusion is brought about.
But yet,
just a minute.
No, hang on, Senator. With all of that, he makes statements publicly.
Yes.
But yet still continues to pledge support for this very same person.
For different reasons.
Until 2027.
For different reasons. That's what I'm saying. You have to distinguish the
reasons. So what are those different reasons?
The different reasons, and this is where we began. This is where we began with the initial arguments for this association. The sustenance of life and the sustenance of the democratic state.
Now, if that's no longer
just let me explain.
Then...
Let me explain. We can sit here until the morning. I'm not going anywhere. Today is Tuesday. I will tell you everything you want to hear. Listen, we got to a place where there was a real danger of this country falling into an undemocratic state. When you see the army in the streets, people imagine that the things we see happening in Tanzania and in Uganda cannot happen in Kenya. We are not special, Yvonne. These things can happen to us. The things that happened in Tahrir Square, the things that happened in Sudan, those things can happen here. And we got to a point where we were seeing the deployment of the army in the streets. And when that state collapses, when the army takes over, the first thing they do is to suspend this document. We will not be here talking like the way we are talking here. We will dissolve all the institutions, including parliament, including the judiciary. Everybody goes home. There is a general in West Africa, I was seeing in the news yesterday. He has just abolished the constitution and extended his own term, and he's saying he will be president forever. It has happened next door in Uganda. Do we love our democracy enough to make compromises? I think that is a valid argument. What I am saying is, at some point, a decision has to be made that the price we are paying for this association as a political party is too high. And that's the point that I am making. That's not to say there are no arguments for the association, you know. And me personally, I thought, honestly speaking, that Ruto having been through what he went through with Gen Z, would give opportunity for the implementation of this document. But there has been no commitment, no desire from his side to implement any of the articles here. None whatsoever. Yeah, and that is the reason I personally said this thing is dead.
All right. You said there can be arguments for the association.
Correct.
What would those be?
I have just made them. I have told you about the sustenance of a democratic state, that Baba believes we should have a constitutional opportunity to remove Ruto democratically. How do you get there? That is the conversation. How do you get there?
Well, the reason I'm asking that is because you say there are arguments for that association.
Those are the arguments.
That's fine. Yes. But in the same breath, you say it is not working.
Yeah,
the sustenance of life. So therefore, can there still be arguments for this association? Because you're saying it is dead?
You ask me questions regarding the position or the view of my party leader. I explain to you the arguments for, you know, and I also give you my arguments against, because my sincere belief, is if we are sustaining a democratic state so that we can all elect somebody or kick somebody out democratically, can we all get there? Can we all get there? Because if you go by the rate, this regime killed over 40 people on Sabasaba. If you do that math and we have another maybe 800 days to go, 800 times 40, that's what? 320, isn't it? People. I'm at 32,000. Actually, 32,000 people will die before we get to the election under the guns of this regime. Those 32,000 people will not get an opportunity to kick William Ruto out. I gave the example of Albert. Albert is in the ground now. You cannot tell Albert to wait for you in 2027. If Ruto kept his word, then it would be easy for some of us to buy that justification for the sustenance of the democratic state, you know? So when you have leaders, a person in the position of a head of state, telling the Kenyan police, and you know the Kenyan police, they have a history, telling the Kenyan police now you are allowed to shoot people. You have his acolytes like Nelson Koech saying, in fact, don't shoot in the legs, shoot to kill. Those instructions permeate to these junior officers. And I'm telling you, Yvonne, if we do not have another way, we will lose more lives before we get to 2027.
So what is...
That is what I'm saying. I was hoping to get into this intergenerational dialogue with you.
Yes, now we can talk about that, because now we want to understand what the way forward looks like.
Yes.
Intergenerational national conclave. Some think that dialogue, again, we've done that before. We've spent hundreds of millions of shillings on dialogue. And in fact, it was dialogue that got us the Constitution of Kenya 2010, amongst so many others. So do you see dialogue as the way forward? What would be the structure?
First, let me concede. Let me concede that I get the sense from the Kenyan public that there's a lot of what you can call dialogue fatigue. But it is also an unfair characterization, because you yourself have said that there are good things that come out from people talking. Now, the way that I have understood the proposal that has been made by Raila, and as I told you, he has not said that that's what the country must do. You see, the problem we have in this country is that there's people who have ideas, there's people who will suggest solutions to problems, then there's people who just sit there and saying, no, that cannot work. No, this cannot work. But you don't give us your own ideas. He has said that he welcomes people who can even perfect that idea so that it can be able to achieve what people want to achieve with it, you know. I have personally told him that I would want that intergenerational conclave or discussion or dialogue to be proper intergenerational, like the example that I have given you. And one of them is, are we treating other generations fairly and equitably? Are we giving the opportunities that we ourselves enjoyed at a good education, at health, at all the other services to the other generations? There are people who remind us and tell us that before I came to this city, they used to drink water from faucets in the CBD, that Nairobi used to have water. What happened? Which generation will we ask what happened? That generation needs to come to that table and we have that conversation. Now, let me tell you how I understand how this thing would work. First of all, it takes me back to the discussion around Article 1. The most powerful article, I believe, in this constitution is Article 1. Because Article 1 gives two options for exercise of sovereign power, after it has said that all sovereign power belongs to the people. All sovereign power belongs to the people means the judiciary gets its power to make decisions about us from us. The executive gets power from us. The legislature gets power from us. How is it possible? And the problem with this article is that that power, the right to exercise our sovereignty directly, is given to all of us. So there cannot be a section of you sitting somewhere and saying, we are exercising Article 1. So Baba is asking, how do you get all of us to talk? How? And it took me back to the early 2000s when we were asking ourselves, we know how to amend a constitution, but we don't know how to replace it. There is no mechanism for us to say, because the sovereign power is ours to give ourselves a new constitution, how do we go about it? Do you remember the conversations about, what was it called? There was a term that was used there about the constituent power of the people and having a constituent assembly that can then say we are removing this constitution from ourselves and we're giving ourselves this one. That is what we need for us to be able to have a conversation that will be binding on all of us. And if the people meeting at this conclave say, By the way, the power to the judiciary is ours. We are taking it back. So whatever decisions we make here will not be subject to judicial interpretation or intervention. And then we say, Parliament, we are withdrawing our sovereignty. All of you guys go home. Executive, we are withdrawing our sovereignty. Go home. We want elections in the next 6 months. It's just people are limited by their own imagination. Because that article is the most powerful article here in terms of when it comes to the power of the people. How do we exercise it is what people have not figured out. So if somebody in the position of Raila makes a suggestion as to how people can exercise that right, you are free to criticize. You are free to offer an alternative way. You are free to better the suggestion because it is a conversation about all of us. All of us must do it or it cannot be done.
And if the people decide they don't want
if the people,
dialogue?
You cannot force them. You cannot force them. I famously was a member of the first NADCO team, if you remember. And I'm also a very impatient man. And I grow wary of talks that go nowhere.
Because they've seen that.
Correct.
NADCO
we went, I remember, but let me make my point then explain something. When people are in the sort of crisis that we are very impatient. We want results. We don't want to be taken round in circles. And I've said I get the sense that there is dialogue fatigue in the country. I was a member of the initial NADCO team. And when I realized that we were just going to Bomas to sit with Boni Khalwale there to drink tea, I thought that I could make better use of my time. And people who are more patient, like Kina Kalonzo, when they were brought on board, the NADCO conversation is not an entirely useless conversation. It is out of NADCO that we now have an IEBC that is not as bad as what we would have had because it is a product of bipartisanship. The initial panel that was chaired by Nelson Makanda had been assembled by Ruto exclusively. And I was on Citizen TV saying that if you have a body as important as IEBC, you cannot allow one player to be the one determining the referee. We have gotten this IEBC now out of that process. NADCO was not entirely useless. So when these people say, oh, you know, this talking does not produce anything, it is not true. You yourself have said, this document, the Constitution, is a product of Kenyans sitting as a Constituent Assembly and talking.
And so there's some that say, yes, there's talk fatigue. Talking got us a constitution and that what they want is action.
Yes.
Just implement the constitution, follow the law because it's all there. In fact, that the constitution has the solutions to everything you're saying in terms of, providing equal opportunities to all Kenyans, regardless of age and region. And so what do you say to those that say...
This is what I say.
That say, just implement the constitution.
This is what I say.
Follow the law.
This is what I say.
There's nothing to discuss.
This book here is just a book. It's just writings on paper if you lay it down like this. The way you breathe life into constitutional rights is to exercise them and to defend them. They say that the price of democracy or freedom is eternal vigilance. You must wake up every day to validate these rights. If you just leave this piece of literature there, it's just another book. So those who say, oh, we just implement the constitution, if it is not being implemented, what do you do? You must try every available avenue to make sure that it is implemented. Today, Yvonne, there are friends of mine from the Kenya National Interface team led by a gentleman called Aoria Choka. This gentleman pointed me to a part of the Constitution that many people ignore, and it is the preamble of the Constitution. Because this Constitution from its beginning to an end, it is there for a reason. The preamble of the Constitution points to the frame of mind of Kenyans when they were passing this document. And the most critical one, this is where when people talk about, we need just to implement. First, you need a government that understands why Kenyans gave themselves this Constitution. I want to read to you this preamble as to why we chose this document. It says, recognizing the aspirations of all Kenyans for a government based on essential values of human rights, equality, freedom, democracy, social justice, and the rule of law. The only government we wanted was not the one that is coming to build us highways and stadiums and markets. It was one that was coming to build a government based on essential values of human rights, equality, freedom, democracy. In 2027, if we get there, you have an opportunity to revisit our aspirations as a nation to build a government that respects human rights. Let nobody tell us about shiny things like Stadia and Sijui roads and what. I am telling you, personally as Sifuna, we want a government that will respect the rule of law, that will respect human rights and the dignity of the people of Kenya.
Does this government do that?
This government surely does not. This government is killing the people. This government does not listen to the people. This is the worst possible government. If you go back to the spirit of the Constitution in 2010, this is the worst possible government we would have envisaged. It's the direct opposite of what we wanted. So I hear William Ruto has succeeded in bullying these guys in the opposition, Kina Kalonzo, into, he says, these people just say one term, they don't have any agenda. I want William Ruto to know that his removal from office is a national priority agenda. It is the only agenda, because his government is totally opposed to everything that this constitution stands for. And I want these people to be bold. Don't be bullied. You don't have to, he wants to push you into a corner where you're discussing markets. Tell Albert Ojwang about markets and roads. In my ranking, removing Ruto is top. It's even higher than getting a second terminal at JKI or dualing Malaba to Mombasa.
And how would we do that?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's talk about that, because there's those calls for one term.
Yeah.
The president, on the other hand, calls those calls unconstitutional.
They are not unconstitutional.
So,
these terms are granted by the public. I've told you we are the sovereign. Yeah. If we decide to give you one term, we'll give you a term. If we decide to give you half a term, we impeach you. I mean, it is in the Constitution. And you can also resign midway from public pressure. We have seen it happen. We have seen it happen that governments have collapsed under the weight of the pressure of the people. Because once people have rejected you, they have rejected you. It is a constitutional way to remove somebody midterm. Yeah. So be it.
Former Deputy President Gachagua?
He is impeached. He cannot run. I don't understand why people talk about him as a viable candidate. The Constitution says once you are impeached, you cannot run. As
kingmaker? Is he someone you would work with?
I don't know about kingmaker. Let me tell you about my view of Gachagua as in terms of value proposition. The value proposition for Gachagua, for me, from an ODM perspective, is that he is taking away votes that helped beat us in 2022. For as long as he's taking away votes from Ruto, I don't care where he takes them. He's not giving William Ruto. Are you getting my point? Because for me, I still believe ODM has the best chance. If Yvonne, Raila Odinga, were to get the exact same number of votes that he got in 2022 in 2027, and William Ruto loses Mount Kenya, Raila Odinga will be president. That's how I see it as SG. So for me, the story about Gachagua, and by the way, there's inordinate attention to Gachagua, including in your bulletin today. There is a cabinet secretary crying about Gachagua. You know, I don't know how I can explain this from two perspectives. First of all, as a senator, once you have impeached someone, that's it. Number two, as a lawyer, there's a rule called against double jeopardy. So you all know he's a tribalist, right? That's the reason why we impeached him, right? So how many times do you want us to impeach him? I was shocked. Members of the National Assembly who have constitutional oversight over Gachagua, they have already exercised that oversight by impeaching him. They adjourned their house to discuss a private citizen. A private citizen that they have already impeached. How many times can you impeach someone? So now, he paid for his crimes. He can do whatever it is he's doing out there. If he crosses the line, because there are limitations to the freedom of expression, if he crosses the line, arrest him. I just hear people complaining, why don't you arrest him? Why don't you arrest him and charge him? You know? So for me, really, that is Ruto's funeral. Pahali walitoana, mimi, I was not there. He has told us long stories about how he selected him or MPCG voted. We were not there. From an ODM perspective, as SG, me, for as long as Ruto's votes are being scattered, that's all I care about.
So, open to working with anyone because that's the primary goal, and you say there is no room for sentiment.
No room for sentiment.
So, ODM as a party?
Edwin Sifuna.
would...
Me as Sifuna. You have asked me a question as Sifuna.
And now I'm asking
you. Should know,
and now I'm asking you as Secretary General.
Yeah, so let me tell you how Secretary General works.
Yeah.
You only speak for the party after a meeting of the party. This is not a meeting of the party. After we have a resolution of the party, I will read the resolutions. But I'm telling you, me, I see the opportunity as a leader in the party. Yeah, I see the opportunity for my party. If you run anyone in the leadership of ODM, they will win this election.
Before I get to viewer questions, by the way, the hashtag is The Explainer at Citizen TV Kenya. Where are we? There we are. And at Yvonne Okwara. I want to ask you this. Do you believe that Raila Odinga is still the man that will lead the party? Because you've talked about values not being the same. You've talked about the direction being different. You've talked about blurred lines. You've said a lot about what's happening with the party. You not supporting the broad-based association or arrangement, him doing that, him supporting President William Ruto, whom you've had some very strong sentiment and opinion about. Yeah. Do you believe that then Raila Odinga is still the man that can steer the party in the right direction, in the direction it was always intended to go? Is he still the man that is the bearer of the values of ODM? I
think so. I think Baba's heart is in the right place. The explanations that he has taken me through, justification, and I've taken you through them throughout this show, on the need to sustain the democratic state, on the need to have opportunity to kick William Ruto out through a democratic process, and so on and so forth. Those things, they make sense. I am holding out hope that we will make the right decision by the people, because Baba has always been the people's champion, and he will never abandon his people. Mzee will never abandon the people. So I believe, and that's why I told you at the beginning of this show, that I have not given up. And the day that I give up, I will tell you. So I believe that he's still the leader.
Okay, let's get this question from X. Well, I still call it Twitter. Age is short, obviously. On X, there's Okello Kevin, who asks whether you would still be firm and bold to correct and oversight the government if you get a pie of a cake in the KK regime, either as legal advisor or as a minister. And so this would be a question. Because like you say, some people were called individually. Yeah. If you got the call today from President William Ruto to serve in the government directly, would you accept that call?
I think it would be very foolish for anyone to join this government, knowing full well that this government is going home in 2 years. I can just wait to establish a government of the people in 2027, and I'm sure the people of Kenya will give us all those positions in a few years' time, Yvonne. You know, you cannot offer me anything because I've seen the future. What will you offer me?
What is the future that you've seen?
The future is that in 2 years' time.
Well, that's... Yes.
In 2 years' time.
Right.
In under 2 years. If we have suffered for 3 years, surely, you want to tell me that you can join this government now?
In 2 years' time, and you also have to go for the election.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
your term will come to an end as senator.
Correct.
Yeah.
My time will come to an end as senator, because I believe it is the people of Nairobi, it is their preserve to decide whether I'll get re-election or not.
Yeah.
I am trying to do my job in the Senate every day to be able to make a convincing argument that I should be given a second term as a senator. But the people of Nairobi, in their sovereign might, can decide that, Sifuna, you go and rest or go and do something else. I mean, that is within their power. So me personally, because I have very strong feelings about this regime and how it has treated the people of Kenya, it would be impossible for me to work with William Ruto. It is not possible. I've entirely admitted that in my estimation, the association or the proximity with UDA is hurting us. I've already said it. I am not here for theatre, Yvonne. I am not here for theatre. I am here to share my view of or the lay of the land as I see it. Okay. Not everybody will agree with how I perceive things or how I view things. Not even everybody agrees that I should say these things. But I've shared my experience with you from 2022. When we were all being told, oh, everything is okay, just keep quiet. So-and-so is in charge. He knows what he's doing. is the one running this show. And then when things go wrong, we are all there left depressed. Do you know, Yvonne, I had been elected for the first time in 2022 as a senator. But because I was SG of ODM and my party leader had lost the election, I never got opportunity to celebrate. I never got opportunity to celebrate. I was locked up in my house for almost 3 months. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want anyone to call me because I had no answers for the people. I don't want to go through that again.
Let's take the final round of comments and then we close. So Samuel Oworth says, today might be the last time we see SG Sifuna on TV in that position. You can't challenge Baba and expect to survive politically. If Baba has spoken, that's final. Sifuna is trying to compete with Baba is political suicide. Do you want to say something before I go to the next?
Yeah, well, I am not here to compete with my boss or my leader and my mentor. And I have said publicly on this very table again that ODM has a lot of talent. It's not only Sifuna who can do the job of SG of ODM.
Okay.
And this position is not mine forever. You know, I have said it. It has been the honor of my life to serve in this position. There are thousands of members of ODM, young people, who can do this job. Even when I was appointed 8 years ago, I was 35 years old. We can find another 35-year-old who maybe can articulate the positions clearer than I do, you know? So the issue is not about positions. The issue is about the country. The issue is about the country. I would be very happy to live in a country, even when I was not SG or senator, but I live in a country that is free, that observes the rule of law, that people obey court orders, that people don't shoot people like chicken in the streets. I would be very okay taking care of my daughter.